we spoke earlier about the test run you did. What was the audience reaction like after that test run last year?
It was quite interesting.
It really,
because
yeah,
many
it
of
was.
them said, we didn't see enough, we want to know more about the workers. And we had people saying it was a very strange play. It affected them in a strange way, because they woke up the next morning and they actually felt a bit disturbed. Other people said the sad thing is that there are really people like that out there. So as I said, we fleshed it out and added stories. I mean, there are so many stories we could write a John 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean,
Wow.
we can make a
lot.
John Soapy. You know, it's so.
And these girls, they are, what I found astonishing is how eager they are to share their stories. It's not something they would keep hidden and be like, no, I can't tell you. They are actually, they tell you.
And they want their stories
in great
to be
detail.
told.
They tell you.
They
They
actually
really
want
do.
their
It's
stories to be
insane.
told.
That's another thing that shocked
We
me.
one night had a group of sex workers from Sweat in, and their comment was, thank you so much for showing us as we really are and not glamorizing us. And they really appreciate
They really,
that.
they
That
really did.
was-
Send us a nice
Yeah,
letter.
send us a very nice letter.
Melissa, tell us about the 3 characters you play.
Well, you just said something that really made me upset, because I think that, before I tell you, the people who say it's sad that people like this really exist, those are the people that I don't want them to think like that anymore.
Yes.
Because oh, it's so sad, I've got my job, and these people, you know, no, that's not it. These
And they probably think it's so sad that you have to go to the office.
Oh
Exactly.
yes.
Yes.
Oh yes. Definitely.
Absolutely.
But so the one character, she's an artist. She's very curious about sex, and she's read a lot of Susan Sontag's writings, feminist writings, and she wants to self-actualize through sex, finding out what, you know, getting to know people, and she's got to this conundrum of love and sex, which is what John, the main character, is actually going through, where love and sex can be the same thing, can be in the same box, but I think the problem with our society is that it dictates love and sex go together. Sex cannot exist without love, and love cannot exist without sex, and they're quite different things. And the whole reason why people go in search of connection or sex workers is, do they want intimacy, do they want love, or do they just want sex? And John, I think, is busy getting them very confused. So that's the one character. She's an artist and an intellectual. And then the other character is a street prostitute, and she needs to work because has an addiction. And that feels that, and yeah, having sex for her is like touching her knee. She doesn't... But she does it because she has to. She doesn't know any other way. And then the other character is a very strong, powerful woman who has worked from the ground up and owns her own escort agency. And she's proud of what she does. And she's not stupid. And she knows men very, very well. She's met a lot of men in her life and knows her power. And yeah, so I think there's a nice cross-section of characters and thinking women, and yeah, we are the same. If I was in the cafeteria now and there was a street worker down there, you can't smell her, you can't, like, there's no way you can tell. There's, you know, who would know?
Yeah.
Apart from, you know, your street workers where, you know, there's room where you can tell. I think that's about it. There is no beyond that. You really can't tell. I mean, there were times when we were driving, when Andre was like, oh, there's another one, and Melissa and I was like,
She's just waiting for a bus.
how did you know that? Yeah.
Andre, tell us about John.
John the character.
John the character.
Yeah, I mentioned that he is basically, he is also based on somebody whom I know. I'm not going to mention his name, obviously. John is socially extremely awkward. Asperger's has been recategorized, not quite sure, but in 2013. But let's stick with Asperger's. Is a syndrome where it only develops later in your teenage years or in adult life, people battle with communicating. They struggle with eye contact. They are quite fidgety, and they really get quite nervous in social situations. But they have one interest, and they are brilliant at that, in that field. John's is numbers, and he is basically an astrophysicist. And as he goes in search of his, it's a desperation. He also lives in this, he's got this imaginary world where there's his first love, that they are together, and he goes in search, and he finds in each of the sex workers, he finds something that reminds him of his original love. But he doesn't really get what he looks for. And I think that's a universal thing with sex workers. Men glamorize it, and it becomes an addiction. You know, if you didn't get it with this one, maybe the next one, maybe the next one, maybe the next one. He's totally a loner, lives on his own. Obviously doesn't have a problem with money, but he doesn't need more. He's just living in his apartment, and then goes out to phone for delivery of sex workers. And he builds up relationships with them to a great extent, but not in the way that he actually wanted it, not in the way that he actually dreamed of it from his first love at school.
Jerry, as the director, what do you hope people take away from this play?
I think my goal for this piece is I really want people to just look at the characters and then just the way that these stories are presented, and just take that and see how it applies to their own life. I mean, that's ultimately why I love theatre so much. It always needs to have something that if an audience member walks away, there needs to be something that applies to almost to their life that they can take away from it. I mean, like Melissa said, sex workers, they really are no different from us. So, and in some cases, we can really learn from them, and we can learn from their stories. So I really want my audience members to just walk away and overall just not look at the sex worker the same way again, and always wonder, I wonder what her story is.
John's showing at the Artscape from the 21st to the 30th of May. How can we get tickets?
CompuTicket. You just go on computicket.com, or you can just Artscape. You can go on the Artscape website, and I'm sure you can get a ticket through them as well.